Hello. And hello, you amazing friends. This is your pal, Edward here, with my friend Adil. Adil, how are you tonight? So good seeing you.
Hey Ed, I'm really well, really well. Thank you so very much. Thank you for joining me tonight actually on this webinar.
Oh, it's just such an absolute pleasure, and it's great having you with us. And what are we going to be talking about on this live stream, Adil? Tell us what's happening in that dangerously brilliant mind of yours, Adil.
Oh, I think we wanted to capture what everyone is talking about, which is the interest rates and the potential drops that may be happening in the meeting which is scheduled for the 18th of Feb, which is actually next Tuesday. And let's probably talk about what impact that would have on the actual property prices. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the thing is, here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. It is, and it's only about likelihood. And this may age well. I think they're going to drop 50 percentage, as in 0.5%, 50 basis points. I reckon they're going to go 50. And I'll tell you why. This might age poorly. We might have to delete this live stream. No, wait, it's fine. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Right? I think because the RBA is very biased towards the Labor Party. So I think the RBA is going to do a decent drop to try and keep the corrupt Labor Party in power. So I think it's a bit of government scamming going on there, but I reckon they're going to try and do a 50-point drop, 0.5%, because they don't want Labor to lose and Liberals getting in. And of course, me being a Liberal, we've got to get in, take out the communist Labor and make Australia affordable again. What do you think, Adil?
And you don't need to tell that you are Liberal. Come on, you don't have to tell that at the end. That's very obvious. But yeah, I think that you remind me of
I wore a purple teal shirt, so it's probably people are going to think I'm a teal or something. So I probably wore the wrong color. But anyway, Adil, that's my mistake.
Yeah. Now I will, and you remind me actually of the disclaimer, guys. So whoever is watching this, there's no legal, political, or any kind of financial advice being provided in this webinar today. This is purely generic in nature, the discussion that we are having. And please make sure you don't follow any advice without considering your personal circumstances and without seeking any independent professional advice. What we are talking today is very generic in nature, and we are trying to capture the impact of possible interest rates and first when that would happen and how would that impact the market. So yeah, I mean, you gave a political angle to that, Ed, which is definitely up for debate. And I was actually talking to someone the other day, and they said that, the air says, and the scenario probably is that as soon as the RBA decides to bring the rates down, now whether that happens next week or the next month, no one exactly knows. Probably the election will be announced straight away because that's the market sentiment, the public sentiment that needs to be captured, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, we've already been told throughout the party. So just a bit. So I'm a Liberal Party operative. Liberal meaning right wing. So to any Americans watching, I don't support Kamala Harris. Liberal in Australia means right wing. So I'm not in a Kamala Harris. Okay, I'm a Trump supporter. Okay. So what we've been told unofficially that it's going to be the first weekend in April, that the election is going to be a pre-Easter election. That's what we've all been told internally. My friends within the Liberal Party, my friends within the Labor Party know that, and that's what we're running to. Now, that might change, but right now we're running to a pre-Easter election. And I say that will be very likely. Who knows? I mean, I could be wrong, but as I sit here on my bed drinking coffee talking to you winners, that's a likely scenario that we got.
So we have covered the political angle on that, and I just want to welcome Margaret as well, who has joined us. So good evening to you as well, Margaret.
Oh, love Margaret. Isn't Margaret amazing, Adil?
She is. She's a fab lady, and yeah, well, she's guessing that there's a 0.25% rate cut happening. So we'll just have to wait and watch this space. But any rate cut, I mean, whenever it happens, I'm more mindful, Ed, and I'm not sure what your thoughts are on this, that any rate cut may give a false indication to the people, because remember how the interest rates actually started rising when they did actually rise back in May 2022. And it was told at the time that the interest rates will actually not rise until 2024. And then suddenly in 3 months' time, RBA, our friend Mr. Lowe, was increasing the rates within 3 months. and they're increasing like pretty much at every meeting, right? So that's the frequency of rate rises that people have in their mind. Now, my concern is that if the rate drop happens in this month or next month, people may anticipate that the rates may go down at the same speed as they went up last time, which can be catastrophic for a lot of people if they think that way, because that is over optimism in my view. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I think now I'm going to give a bit of analysis here. You've got Trump in power. You've got interest rate reductions, more interest rate reductions likely to come out of the US. We in Australia follow the US, as we all know. And also, too, what you've also got is that you've got, I'll give a different answer. If Peter Dutton gets in, as in we get a strong Liberal government, I reckon we're going to see a few more rate rises this year, because all throughout history, whenever Liberal gets in, you always see a boom to the local markets. You see a massive increase in consumer sentiment and buyer optimism. So I'm going to give you this answer, right? If Peter Dutton becomes Prime Minister and we have a new Liberal government, we're going to see a lot of rate cuts this year. If that does not happen, we're going to see only a few, because the same thing's happening. Like Trump has made it very clear in America, and we follow America. Trump's made it clear he's cutting all the spending to reduce inflation, to allow for interest rates to come down. And of course, we in Australia obviously follow that. So as they always say in politics, if America catches a cold, Australia is the one who gets the sneeze. So that's just the way that it goes.
I mean, you're kind of right. Let me put another argument over here, because I read an article by Westpac, and they've actually said very recently, where they're talking about that the federal and the state governments are planning to put around $50 billion into the economy over 2025.
Yep.
Now, what that means is they're trying to inject money, trying to stimulate and make the economy much more active than what it is right now. And if they do that, essentially what that means is that inflation will be harder to control, harder to combat, because there'll be more spending. And RBI is trying to bring the inflation down between the 2 to 3% range before they can start cutting the rates. The governments are actually working in the opposite direction. So what I feel is that the RBI is looking in one direction, the government is in the totally opposite direction. And if they try to inject like $50 billion, as this report in Westpac is claiming, then essentially we may have interest rate cuts happen a lot longer, or they may be delayed, or there may be just one rate cut for now and no more rate cut for the next 3 or 6 months. What do you think?
Yeah, and again, I think it's going to be interesting. It's because I know, look, if Peter Dutton gets in, which I believe he will, based on the polling and performance and the incompetent leadership of the elbow Labor government, right? I just had to stick that in. I think we're going to see it down, because part of Peter Dutton's mandate, and he's made this very clear, is Peter Dutton's goal is to control the cost of living, bring down the cost of living and control interest rates, right? And influence better control of influence rates via the Feds and the RBA. So again, I'm going to say this, Peter Dutton will probably get in. I hope this interview doesn't age poorly, but whatever. I gotta, you know me, I got big kahunas, so I don't care. But Peter Dutton gets in. He's going to he's going to do what he can, as the government can, to reduce the cost of living, which brings down inflation, which brings down interest rates. And if they do some kind of big stimulus package, that might already be offset in the improvements of cost of living. You got to remember as well is Australia has sent a lot of money for the Ukrainian war, right? We've sent a lot of money and done a lot of work there. Under Trump, you've got the wars stopping, so that's going to be less money that Australia is spending as part of its alliance. It's basically as part of the Western Alliance. So it's interesting. So many different factors going on here, but I think Dutton win, we're going to see some great changes come our way, Adil.
And that's what we are expecting anyway, isn't it? That's always a good sign for the economy historically, when the Liberals come into power. And that's our personal view, and that's what you're showing is your personal view. And people may have a different opinion on that as well. Yep.
But based on that, a lot of the polling is saying that. And also, too, a lot of the mass media is saying that. So the way it works is, and whether this is good or bad, quite often, so now I'm not a fan of the mass media because a lot of them are fake news and complete lies, pushing out propaganda. But quite often, the mass media knows who's going to win. And they often say who's going to win to try and influence outcomes of the election. And one of the big things is, again, I don't mean to be too political, but I'm going to say it, where the Labor Party has really lost it, because the Labor Party has really gone against Israel and taken the opposing side to Israel, that's cost them a lot of support in the mainstream media as well. So the mainstream media is gunning for Labor and trying to put in a Liberal dart and win. So it's not just, so yeah, it's my opinion, but a lot of the media complex, which unfortunately often calls it correctly, are saying this as well. And our mass media actually said that Trump was going to win, and Trump did. So there you go.
Nah, exactly. I think Trump overall, for the world peace, I think it's really good that he has come into power. That's my personal opinion. That's good for the world peace. That's what I believe in.
Oh, totally. That's what everyone believes in. So there we go. Everyone believes in. So I think it's going to be interesting in talking more about property. Of course, as we see, you know, improvements to the economy, reduction in interest rates, it's going to make it easier to obviously get loans, get money, which drives what you do, Adil. It's going to make your life a lot easier.
Well, maybe make it a lot more easier, or maybe increase the demand to a point where a lot of people are fighting and jumping in. Like we are seeing people falling and getting into the market, some of them strategically well, but some of them are just under FOMO, and they just want to get something because there's a FOMO out there. Oh, what if I don't get it now, I won't get it ever. So I think people also need to realize that if the interest rates start dropping, which will happen eventually at some point of time in the near future, they just don't go blindly and try to buy whatever they can, which I can see a lot of people are doing right now in certain oversupplied markets across the nation. So yeah, that's where they need to actually feel the pulse of the economy as well, because property markets are not standalone. They don't operate in isolation. They are closely related to the local economy and the national economy. So the decisions that are taken at the national level, the state level, do have an impact on property prices and how property markets behave as well.
Yeah, no, fascinating, Adil, fascinating. I've got to say, I love where you're going in, Adil. I mean, you're an up there, you know, buyer's agent and property investor, and I've known you for years, and you've done heaps of work and some great property deals. What do you think's going to happen, and what are you planning in relation to what you think's coming, and how are you supporting your clients? What are your big thoughts, Adil?
I think the good thing would be people who want to really get into the property, and I'm telling that to all my new clients, even existing clients, because we have a lot of repeat clients that we have. It's all about what they really want to achieve in this scenario. The interest rate, whether they go lower, whether they increase, doesn't really impact the big scheme of things yet. Yes, it does impact your borrowing. It does impact your cash flow, but it doesn't impact the big picture. If you are a property investor, or if you treat property as a tool for real, safe wealth creation, then a drop or increase of 0.25% or 0.5% doesn't really matter. You should be able to account for it in your calculations anyway. So, I mean, it's all about down to strategy. I think people need to be a bit more selective. That's what I'm saying to everyone. It's not about just buying anything, because up until last year, like in 23, 24, people were buying anything in regional Queensland, anything in Perth. It was still doing well. The market was rising and rising. That's not going to happen so easily in 2025. You have to be very selective in what areas you go. You need to know why you are going into the market, what benefits you want. You should be ready to wait for the market. You can't make like those quick gains in 6 months and 1 year. So I think people need to be a bit more cautious in this market. That's what I'm telling everyone, because there's a lot more competition. I mean, there are not enough houses being built. We know that housing is a crisis. There are not enough houses. I mean, the rentability is a problem. The rental affordability is chaotic. People can't afford to rent anymore, but they still have to rent. They don't have any other option. And the rents are also going up as well in all the major cities. Like I was reading an article, Perth is the most unaffordable city right now, even more than Sydney. So would you trust me on that?
Oh, yeah, I know. No, I trust you full stop, Adil. And the reason why I trust you, Adil, is you have the data. That's what's interesting. Like, I know you spend a lot of your time looking at data on a daily basis, so you know exactly what's going on. And it's really sad, actually. And also, too, the uncontrolled immigration. And this is the thing that really annoyed me. They've taken. I'm obviously. I mean, I come from an Arabic background. I'm all for immigration. But they've taken in so much immigration without the housing available for it. So you've got immigration that's completely out of control with infrastructure and public service requirements, and I think that needs to change as well. And also, too, under a Dutton Liberal government, like you'd always seen a Liberal government, they're going to really slow down the amount of immigration to allow infrastructure and housing to catch up. And that, of course, as well, will offer great improvements on property prices as well. So that's been my that's what I've really been told from within the party, which I think is incredible. And and I think it's so, I'm very at the party. So I think
the party guy.
and not the CCP. I'm in the Liberal Party. So I said the party the other day, and someone thought I was part of the Chinese Communist Party. It's like, if I was part of the Chinese Communist Party, I'd have a Maserati. But anyway, that's the way that it goes, right? It's like,
it is interesting, and it's a very convoluted scenario right now. You can't really expect what will happen with the property prices. I think there are still some markets which will do well. Some Melbourne markets are supposed to be doing well, but with Melbourne, a lot of people are thinking that the whole Melbourne will start growing in value. That's not the case. There are a lot of oversupply issues in Melbourne that need to be taken care of. So some areas in Melbourne will still do well over the next couple of years, and they are worth looking for if you are a property investor, but not all of Melbourne. So it's not like Brisbane of 2020, or it's not like Perth of 2021 and 2022. So Melbourne will just not grow like that, but you have to be selective. And that's where history kind of informs about future, but the pattern is not just a copy paste. You can't copy paste the pattern in this scenario.
No, incredible. I gotta say, I love your insights, Adil. And I was gonna ask you as well, my powerful friend, right? So assume Peter Dutton's gonna get in, right? Because and the markets are saying that too, the betting markets.
That's your favorite topic, right?
Peter Dutton. But I want to bring it back to you. Peter Dutton because that's the thing. If we're talking April, how long have we got? It's February now, March. It's 2 months. We're talking any day we could have an announcement of a federal election, and that's going to really absolutely mess with the housing markets. Now, assuming Dutton does get in and he goes full Trump, what do you think's going to happen, Adil, and what are you planning to do with it?
Overall, the landscape on the property market will not change significantly, in my view, because we have those chronic issues where the supply is really tight overall. And I'm talking about the nationwide scenario now. The supply is tight. We are struggling to build new homes. We have immigration still coming through. So the immigration does not stop in one day. So it takes like a couple of years or 3 years before the immigration levels become normalized again. And when I say normal, I'm talking about 160, 180,000 new migrants every single year. So right now we are sitting at like more than 300,000 migrants in a given year. So we are much more than what we can absorb. So I think the immediate change of government will not have any significant impact, apart from the fact that we have low supply, we have increasing demand because of rising immigration. The prices just keep on rising. The only thing that potentially would happen with the interest rate cut is that a lot of people will jump into the market. They want to get ahead because they think, oh, now it's my time. I can get the loan. I can get the money. And that's where my only advice to them is just don't buy anything and everything, because you may actually end up losing money that way. Just be cautious as to what you're getting into, because the way interest rates went up from like it was like 0.1% cash rate, right? It went up to like 4.35 in like 13, 14 months, 15 months. It will not come down the same way.
Exactly.
1 or 2 rate cuts. So 1 or 2 rate cuts doesn't mean that you just go blindly and just buying anything because your repayments have suddenly dropped now. It's not the case like it went up. It won't go down the same way. So you have to be really, really selective in what you are buying, whether your cash flow will support it or not. And there are ample opportunities to make money in real estate. Don't take me wrong on that. Whether it's liberals, which I'm pretty sure would happen with the mass media and with the public opinion. But whichever government comes in, I think there are great opportunities, but people just need to be cautious.
Well said. I got to say, you're a brilliant man, Adil, and I love what you said at the start. Again, this live stream is a general conversation only. If you're interested, have a chat directly to Adil and discuss your personal circumstances with them to make the best choice possible. So, again, I think it's very well said, Adil. And I just want to ask you as well, Adil, what are some of your key thoughts that you want to get? So let's say there's someone watching who's like, you know what, I want to get an investment property. I want to start with a deal. What are some of the things they should consider before they contact you?
See, at the end of the day, it's not really about an investment property or how many properties you have. It's not bragging about it. It's more about what that property will help you achieve. What can you make out of it? Will it help you have a secure financial future for your kids? Will it help generate a deposit for your kids so that they can buy their own homes 10 years later, 20 years later? Because the way prices are going up, you can't just save money or save from your income every month to have a deposit ready for your kids. So you have to make strategic investments and use banks' money, the leveraging, to actually create that deposit for your kids, or just create a deposit for yourself to buy like a $2 million, $3 million home in Sydney as a family home. So depending on your goals, I mean, I would still say your strategy is still your pivotal point. You need to know what your strategy is. Your friends don't inform your strategy.
Yeah.
Your neighbors don't inform your strategy. Speak to someone who has done this before, whether you speak to myself or anyone else, doesn't really matter. But make sure you're speaking to the right people so that you know what you're getting into. Property is a long-term game. If you're getting into a 500, 700K asset, it's the biggest purchase you will ever make in your life.
Yeah.
You just can't put money because that's what your brother-in-law told you, right?
Yeah. And I think just adding to that as well, you also got to be careful what you see on the TV. You know, news is propaganda, and news is designed to get clicks. It's not designed to communicate factual information. And you got to be so careful what you see on the news, because the news are always lying, distorting information, and also too, they're just acting in ways to benefit themselves and not you. So again, be careful what you watch on TV. Speak to a professional like Dangerously Awesome Adil. So there you go. Well said. Don't speak to me about property. Speak to me about LinkedIn or politics. Yeah, or if you want to hear a rant about why Peter Dutton's awesome, definitely talk to me about that one. I can tell you, I got all my talking points lined up, Adil, on why Peter Dutton's awesome.
Mate, can't agree more. If you want to, raise the bar on LinkedIn or your social media stuff, just want to be known and represented, go and speak to Ed, please. There's no second thought about it. Just go and do it. Every day you're delaying, you're killing yourself.
Oh, love it, Adil. And Adil, as we wrap things up, what are some of your closing thoughts, my powerfully handsome friend?
Oh, I think we just have to watch out this space. The interest rate cut definitely is imminent. And this space will actually shape up. The next 3 months are very critical, I would say. The markets are not going down anytime. The markets would anything, they would be rising. There are some awesome property markets which are doing really well. So for someone who wants to make money, who has the right strategy and who understands their goals, who has a sensible head on their shoulders, which I would like to assume most of the people do, and then I think property investing is definitely on for them as well. But please don't assume that the rates will just slide down and you will have your mortgages reduced drastically and you can just keep buying anything and everything, because that is when you get into a big trap of mortgage stress. So please be very careful before taking any further loans. But yeah, the opportunities are ample. There are probably like at least 100 plus suburbs right now where people can make like easily 100 grand or more in the next 12 months if they buy there today. Wow. At least 90 suburbs, I can tell you now.
Oh, Adil, I got to say, I love your leadership and what you're up to, my powerful friend.
Thank you so very much, Ed. And thank you for joining us today and sharing your thoughts about the political landscape, about how things may change, and also about your love for Mr. Peter Dutton.
Oh, yeah. And there you go. And if you are watching, remember, look, vote Liberal, vote One Nation, vote United Australia, whatever you do, vote right wing, because that will support you and support your children and your grandchildren to come.
That is totally a personal advice from Edward, nothing to do with me.
That's factual, scientific, factually proven advice. It's not advice. It's me telling you that the world is round. It's just a fact. So I'm all about facts, and the fact is that Peter Dutton's the right choice. That's a scientific fact.
I love your approach, because data and facts is what we really truly believe in the property space as well. and that's what you are as well in what you do. So yeah, I kind of agree with you.
There we go. There we go. Well, of course, smart people agree with me because smart people know what's going on. Love your work, Adil. I got all the talking points down, Adil. I got all the talking points. Don't you worry.
No,
There we
beautiful.
go.
No, thanks very much. I think that is really nice of you joining us. And thank you very much for that, Ed. It was a pleasure having you tonight. And guys, if you have a personal situation, if you want to discuss your goals, your aspirations, or if you already have a property and you want to get out of it, or not sure whether it is something you should keep with you, whether it will help you in the future or not, come along, get in touch with myself, whether you are watching this on LinkedIn, YouTube, or Facebook. Give us a share, give us a feedback as to what you want to hear about next week, and we will keep bringing these sessions to you. Thank you so very much, Ed, again, for your precious time and for your inputs tonight.
Thank you so much, Adil. Love your work. And to those watching, thank you so much. Like, share, comment, reach out to Adil and myself. And I've got to say a big thank you. And Adil, I just want to say you are a top man.
Thank you so much, Ed. Thanks, everyone, for joining in. Have a very good night.
Hey, stay awesome, friends.